So I'm going to mix some greens. Here's that Windsor green that is pretty bright. So I'm going to dull it down with my alizarin crimson, so it looks more like a natural green. And I'm going to now, actually I want a little bit more life to that green, so I'll add a little bit more of that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I am going to go back to my leaves. You can feel how dry your paper is by using the back of your hand. And now I'm going to start putting in shapes in the leaves that are darks, okay? And I'm going to do just a few shapes, and then I'm going to soften them, and I'll show you how I do that in just a second. I want these to get nice and dark to start building the shapes of the leaves. I've got a lot of water in my brush right now, and sometimes that's good and sometimes not. And I control it by using my cellulose sponge, my regular kitchen sponge basically. All right, now clean water on the brush. Now I'm able to move this paint around, okay, and soften the edges. So if you have a pretty dry brush, it may even absorb some of the paint that you have put down, which can be a good thing. So it all depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If I want to soften it, I just can go up like this. I can draw the paint up into the area, and if I want, I can make my harder edges a little bit softer by just going right next to them with clear water on the brush. And that's all I'm doing, is just moving the paint around a little bit, using the paint that's already there, the pigment that's already there, and just moving it around a bit to start to shape the leaves. Okay. All right. So I want darks next to lights and lights next to darks. So what you're always looking at is the value of what is next to the object that you're painting. Is it lighter or darker? So you're always constantly making that decision. Which is lighter, which is darker? All right, so now I see a shadow here. And it goes like this. And it goes over the leaf. Like that. So this is where you want to get really careful, and you want to start to really look at the photograph or the flower in front of you, and you want to start to really see where the light is coming from. Okay. Okay, and I see a shadow going across this way. and I see dark. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting the darks in. So if you remember, I said this is kind of a 4-layer process. It's kind of color blocking with light pastels on the first layer, and then medium tones to start to build the shape of the vegetation, and then darks, adding your darks, which is what I'm doing now. And then the last is shadow. And in this case, I'm kind of doing the shadows also now at the same time that I'm putting my darks in. So, because the shadows are such a big part of this very graphic painting. If you think about it, it's really important to show how these shadows work with the lighting on the flower. Okay, so let me think. Okay, I'm going to turn it around, and I see this. This is also a good time every once in a while to just stop and take stock and just look and see what have I depicted well and what could be done differently. Okay, I need more darks here. Okay. I want to soften these hard lines that I put in over here. Just want to soften them a little bit. And soften these going up. Okay. Now I see a couple of areas where I'm going to mix a little bit more of this color. I'm getting close on the left side of the painting, but I am not close yet on the right side of the painting. I'm getting close, but not on the left. I haven't started working on the left yet. Okay. All right, now let's see. A little bit of work down here. To shape the leaf a little bit more. And over here. Okay, so what's really interesting is to look at the shapes of the leaves and figure out how to soften them, how to make them look like they're bending and folding in a gentle way. And this takes some observation, and it doesn't always happen it doesn't always happen quickly. You have to just kind of keep looking and seeing what's there. All right, that's good. All right, I need dark over here. And I need dark here. This is a shadow. All right. All right. A little bit more on this side. And I'm going to soften these lines that I just added. And you'll notice a lot of times, even though I've used my sponge, I pull more water out of the brush with my hand. I constantly do that. Because it tells me exactly how much water I have in the brush by touching it and feeling it. Okay, pretty okay with that. Got a little bit more up here. And you'll notice that I also turn my painting around so that I'm not working over wet areas. That's one of the reasons that you paint from top to bottom typically. But when you're working like this and I'm doing the background also at the same time, it's hard to avoid areas where I've just painted and I've gotten it wet. All right, now I put those lines in and I'm just softening them with clean water on the brush. And I'm going to do a little something to this leaf down here. Not much, just a little. And I'm going to smooth this out. And I'm going to add some darks to this one that I just painted up here. And this will be interesting because this will bleed all over. And I don't recommend doing this. But let's see, maybe I can just, there. Okay. Now, let me see. Now that I've got the background to a point where I feel pretty comfortable with it, I'm going to go back to my calla lily and I'm going to just make some minor adjustments and then I'm going to be done. So Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to lift a little color from the very end of the pistil, which is the yellow-orange part. I'm just going to lift some color, and all you have to do is just put clean water on a brush, have your tissue handy, and you can lift that color right out. All right, now I don't want to lift too much out because I don't want it to go back that far, but that's probably about right. Now, I want to shape this area, and I want to put in a deeper shadow. So I want to lift a little yellow out or orange out there. Use your tissue, Kleenex tissue, so that you don't have a mark from paper towel. Let that all dry nicely. And I want to put just a little bit of shape around the edge of this. So I'm going to just put a little bit of dark on both sides so it looks like it is embedded in the flower. And I'm going to soften the edge so I don't have hard edges, so it looks like it's round. That makes it look round. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to take a neutral. Okay, that's a nice neutral gray. And I just want to go in and emphasize the area around the pistil. And I want to make a little shadow around the end of the pistil. And I want to emphasize this portion. All right, so clean water on a brush, dry it off, and then smooth it. Have to work fast because look at my little hard lines may not soften. It's almost better to do this by wetting your paper first. So when you put those hard lines in, they soften right away. So that's something that, you know, I just learned. Well, I've known it, but anyway, that's a good lesson to learn. So don't worry when you do this kind of thing and you say, oh my God, that screwed up. Don't worry about it. What you've done is you've learned a lesson to never do that again. And that's sometimes the most valuable lessons. And I want to show you one thing with this. The other thing you can do, they say watercolor is very unforgiving, and to some extent it is. But I want to show you, here is a bristle brush. Okay, this is a stiff bristle brush, and it's used for acrylic, so you can see the difference of the shape. But I can, by putting water on this, I can even go in and soften those lines. Now, when you do this, however, you're roughing the paper. So if you do it lightly and not a lot, it won't harm the paper. But if you do it a lot, it will change the way the paper accepts paint. So you want to do it gently. You can also lift paint with a Q-tip. That's another very good way to lift paint. All right, so let me do one last thing here, and then I am as done as I'm going to be. And that is to just strengthen this shadow in here. And right around the edge again. And soften it with clean water on a brush. And that's pretty much done. I think no, one other thing I see. It needs, and this will bleed probably, needs an edge right there. Yeah. Okay. That is pretty close to being done. So I think that if I played around with it anymore, I wouldn't like it. That's another thing you want to learn is when are you finished? You do not want to paint too long on any piece. So there is a calla lily, and I like the dark. I think that the dark that we mixed is a good one. So remember that that is alizarin crimson, Prussian blue, and a little bit of the Windsor green. Excellent.